Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed.
You know, all the killings, our loved ones wake up dead. Over 200 people killed in Benue State last week. Not just in Benue State, all over the pockets around Nigeria.
The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries.
Any government that fails to protect life and property has failed woefully. And we've got to do something. The government needs to do something.
This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen.
Hello guys, I want you to like this video, share it.
You didn't hear that? Your job is to share it.
Share it and kill it.
Huh? Share it.
Kill it. Bruh. Edit it, quell it.
Oh my God. Honey, I love Exousia TV.
Yeah, babe. If it's not Exousia TV, don't watch. Exousia TV, authority in witnessing Christ.
Hey guys, welcome to Exousia TV channel. On here, we bring the truth of God's word to light by challenging unscriptural teachings to make you know God in truth. So do well to subscribe to our channel, like all our posts, make sure you tap that notification bell so that you'll be updated with all our new posts. And don't forget to share to more people so that the truth of God's word will cover the earth. I bet you won't regret this. We love you and thank you for doing this. Let's dive in.
A big shout out to all Exousians and to everyone yet to join this solid truth platform, from Africa to Europe, from America to every corner where truth still burns. Drop your city and your nation in the comments right now. Let the world see how far this army of light stretches. An army that refuses to be silent while deception reigns across the land. Because today's video, listen carefully, might be one of the most explosive episodes you've ever watched on this platform. President Donald Trump is trending globally for his stern warning to the Nigerian government over what he calls the relentless mass slaughter of Christians, and his words are echoing across Africa like rolling thunder.
They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad also. You know that part of the world, very bad. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah, President Trump is not mincing words here. This is what he said on Truth Social yesterday. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into the now disgraced country guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible attack. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth got the message and says the Department of War is preparing for action. The response comes as the persecution of Christians in Nigeria has reached crisis levels. Islamist militants have burned down churches and Christian schools. And international civil rights groups estimate more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered in the country since 2009. But the president of Nigeria claims the reports of violence are misleading and says on X the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. And our administration is committed to working with the United States government and international community to deepen understanding and cooperation of communities of all faiths. President Trump also recently redesignated Nigeria as a country of concern after former President Biden removed it from the list in 2021.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. That's a legal definition. When the Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide. What horrible numbers. Something has to be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. and I mean like immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. It's not only Nigeria, it's all over. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen.
It is June 13th, 2025. Yelwa, Benue State, Nigeria. A mission compound sits in the darkness. Inside, over 400 people are sleeping. Most of them are internally displaced, refugees in their own country. They fled here because their villages were destroyed. Their farms were burned because men with guns came in the night. They came to this place, St. Joseph Catholic Church Mission, because they believed it was safe here. At approximately 10 p.m., the attackers arrived. Witnesses will later say there were dozens of them, armed with AK-47s, some carrying machetes. They surrounded the compound on all sides and chanted Allahu Akbar as they opened fire. The people inside ran. Some hid in the church. Others tried to escape into the bush. Children screamed for their parents in the darkness. Yet they slaughtered more than 100 persons.
The incidents lasted for more than 5 hours.
Father Unkuma Jonathan, the parish priest, he was there. He survived. Later, he would describe what he saw. They set buildings on fire, he said. The mutilated bodies. Some victims trapped in their homes and burned alive. When the sun rose on June 14th, the mission compound was in ruins. Bodies lay scattered across the grounds. The church where people had sought sanctuary was damaged by bullets and by fire. The official death toll was uncertain. Initial reports said 100, then 150. Church sources eventually confirmed over 250 people were killed that night. 250 human beings, mothers, fathers, children, entire families erased in a single night of violence.
My family members affected, they are 5 in numbers. My wife, brother, and 4 children.
And then Dr. Abel Damina, the renowned theologian, teacher, and fearless voice of truth, stepped in. Visibly heartbroken by the ongoing killings, yet bold as ever, he didn't hold back his words. He said what most preachers wouldn't dare to say. And trust me, you need to listen carefully to how he addressed this issue, because what he said will come in handy as we uncover the real story behind all this brouhaha.
Abel Damina is my name, and I want to address my brethren, my people in Benue State. The people of Benue State. We want you to know we identify with you through this trying season. And it's not the first time. It's one of many other times where our loved ones wake up dead. You know, all the killings. Over 200 people killed in Benue State last week. God will comfort your hearts, and God will make a way of escape. God will bring ideas and help us to come up with innovations that will create an end to this menace. Not just in Benue State, all over the pockets around Nigeria. And I want to use the opportunity to speak to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Governor of Benue State. You know, the first responsibility of any government is to protect life and property. Any government that fails to protect life and property has failed woefully. And we've got to do something. The government needs to do something, especially in a country where the citizens are not allowed to have firearms and to protect themselves. Then the government must do something necessarily about putting an end to this menace. The more these things continue to occur, it shows a failed state, and we cannot be a failed state. We have a government of the day. Please, this is very important. Our government agencies, you are doing well, but you can do much more to put an end to this menace and to put an end to this bloodshed, to put an end to this heartbreak and this continuous injustice that continues to pervade our society. And I pray today for the people of Benue State that you have the comfort of the Holy Spirit. The families that are affected, that God will comfort you, heal your hearts, and make a way to put an end to this whole menace in our society. Nigeria will live long, Nigeria will live well, and we pray that things will get better in this nation. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
September 26th, 2025, Los Angeles, California. 3 months later, 7,000 miles away. A comedian sits behind a desk. Bill Maher, host of one of America's most watched political talk shows. Known for being provocative, atheist, liberal. Not someone you'd expect to champion Christian causes. But on this night, Maher does something unexpected. He admits he's not a Christian, but he can no longer watch in silence as they are systematically killing Christians in Nigeria.
I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country.
The studio audience is silent. They have killed over 100,000 since 2009.
They've burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza.
Within hours, the clip is everywhere. Conservative news outlets amplify it. Religious networks share it. Social media explodes with outrage and solidarity. #Nigerian Christians trends worldwide. A genocide the world has ignored. Christians slaughtered for their faith. The deadliest place in the world to be a Christian. September 2025. On the U.S. Senate floor, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas stands before the chamber. Since 2009, he declares, approximately 50,000 Nigerian Christians have been killed, 2,000 schools destroyed, 18,000 churches burned by Islamist militant groups. He introduces Senate Bill 2747, the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2025. The bill would force the U.S. government to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern for severe violations of religious freedom. It would impose targeted sanctions on Nigerian officials. It would mandate action. October 2025. On Fox and Friends morning show, Congressman Riley Moore appears on television. Behind him, bold graphics display the same numbers. 50,000 killed, 18,000 churches burned. Nigeria has become the deadliest place in the world to be a Christian. Moore says, we must suspend all U.S. arms sales until the Nigerian government protects religious minorities.
This is a genocide that's been going on by Islamic terrorist organizations, and we're going to get right to work on this and get to the bottom of what's happening.
October 15th, 2025. Nina Shea of the Hudson Institute organizes a letter signed by 30 Christian leaders, former ambassadors, bishops, evangelical leaders. They cite Bill Maher's comments as evidence of bipartisan concern, even among those outside the faith. They write, recognize the atrocity of what is happening in Nigeria. The letter urges immediate redesignation, immediate action, immediate intervention. Within weeks, the narrative is everywhere. A genocide is happening in Nigeria. Christians are being systematically exterminated by Muslim extremists. The world is ignoring it. America must act. It's a story that makes sense. Good versus evil. Persecuted believers versus jihadist killers. A moral crisis demanding a moral response. Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, 220 million people. The continent's largest economy, a country split almost evenly, roughly half Christian, half Muslim. And yes, Nigeria is bleeding. Since 2009, tens of thousands have died. Villages have been razed, churches and mosques destroyed, entire communities displaced. The violence is real, the suffering is undeniable. But here's what the headlines don't tell you. This isn't one war, it's 3 different wars, happening simultaneously in different parts of the country, each with different perpetrators, different victims, different causes. In the Northeast, Islamist terrorists wage an insurgency, but their victims are overwhelmingly Muslim civilians, not only Christians. In the Middle Belt, farmers and herders clash over scarce land and water, a conflict driven in part by resource scarcity and ethnic tension. In the Northwest, armed bandits kidnap for ransom and slaughter villagers, killing Christians and Muslims indiscriminately for profit, not faith. And beneath it all lies a question that should make everyone pause. This violence has existed for 15 years. Boko Haram emerged in 2009. The massacres began over a decade ago. International organizations have documented the crisis for years. So the questions many are asking are, why now? Why does Nigeria suddenly become the center of American political attention? What shows that President Donald Trump is not just interested in testing America's deadly weapons on the land of Nigeria and not necessarily helping Nigeria? In fact, we've already seen videos of young people chanting that Trump should not embark on his so-called agenda because they see it as a death trap. Others are asking, what if Trump wants to loot Nigeria of its natural resources? But listen carefully. Your answer to these questions depends on who is influencing the way you think. Here at Exousia TV, we don't chase shallow headlines. We dig deeper, and we're going to present to you a balanced narrative, the kind many of your favorite news platforms and bloggers have refused to tell you. So, let's begin with the first question. Is President Trump acting all of a sudden because of a hidden agenda, to test American weapons on Nigerian soil, or to loot Nigeria's resources? Now, many people think Donald Trump just woke up one morning and decided to talk about Nigeria. They say he has an ulterior motive, a secret plan. But hey, calm down. Don't be deceived by shallow bloggers who don't pay attention to history and facts. Because that line of thinking, that Trump's move is sudden or sinister, is actually a story built on ignorance, not evidence. And before this video ends, we'll show you clear historical proof that Trump's current stand on Nigeria isn't new. He's been on this issue long before today, long before many even started paying attention. First, this is not the first time Donald Trump has spoken about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. In fact, as far back as April 30th, 2018, when then-President Muhammadu Buhari visited the White House, Trump publicly called out Nigeria for the mass killing of Christians.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with President Buhari of Nigeria. We have many things that we do together, as you know, probably especially on terrorism and terrorism-related. We also have a very big trade deal that we're working on for military equipment, helicopters, and the like. We have met before. We have developed a great relationship, and we look forward to our discussion today. Very important, but again, especially as it relates to terrorism. And that's terrorism here and terrorism all over the world. It's a hotbed, and we're going to be stopping that. Also, we've had very serious problems with Christians who have been murdered, killed in Nigeria. We're going to be working on that problem, and working on that problem very, very hard, because we can't allow that to happen. Mr. President, thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Thank you.
So Trump's concern didn't start today, it started years ago. Second, Trump didn't just talk, he acted. During his first term, the United States placed Nigeria on a special watch list for severe violations of religious freedom. That was in December 2020, under his administration. Proof that his government officially recognized Christian persecution long before this new 2025 outcry. But unfortunately, according to multiple credible sources, Joe Biden's administration did remove Nigeria from the U.S. Country of Particular Concern (CPC) list in November 2021. Third, Trump's record shows he's not using Africa as a testing ground for American weapons. If that were true, we would have seen the same pattern in other nations where he took action. But instead, we saw diplomacy and humanitarian support. Fourth, Trump has addressed persecution beyond Nigeria. In his recent 2025 statement, he mentioned not only Nigeria but Pakistan, India, and Iran, calling for protection of Christians and other religious minorities in those countries. That proves his policy isn't about looting any one nation. It's about a global religious freedom agenda. Fifth, Trump's move is consistent with his campaign promises. Even before re-election, he stated clearly that defending Christians under persecution around the world would be a key foreign policy focus. He said, "We will not stand by while Christians are hunted, imprisoned, or executed for their faith." Sixth, American religious leaders have also been pushing this agenda. Organizations like the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, and leading evangelical voices have for years called on Washington to take firm action against the slaughter of Christians in Nigeria. Many of those voices are the same ones backing Trump's renewed intervention today. And finally, Trump has a history of standing up for Christians in the Middle East, particularly in Iraq and Syria, where his administration helped rebuild destroyed Christian communities after ISIS was defeated. He didn't loot those nations. He didn't exploit them. Instead, he directed American funds to rebuild churches, schools, and homes that had been wiped out. So before you buy into the rumor that Trump's action is sudden or self-serving, remember these facts. This is not a new agenda. This is a continuation of a consistent position, one that has been on record for over 5 years. The real question now isn't whether Trump has an ulterior motive. The question is, why is the world suddenly paying attention only now? Why are the same people who were silent when Nigerians were being slaughtered now rushing to politicize Trump's move? Think about that. And that's what this conversation should really be about.
You know, all the killings, God will make a way of escape. God will bring ideas and help us to come up with innovations that will create an end to this menace all over the pockets around Nigeria. And I want to use the opportunity to speak to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The first responsibility of any government is to protect life and property. Any government that fails to protect life and property has failed woefully. And we've got to do something. The government needs to do something, especially in a country where the citizens are not allowed to have firearms and to protect themselves. Then the government must do something necessarily about putting an end to this menace.
Now, I want you to pay very close attention to what Dr. Abel Damina said. Number one, he did not apportion blame. He didn't criticize any religious group. And he didn't sound like someone speaking only for Christians. He addressed the issue as a national concern, not as a religious campaign. He spoke with calmness, balance, and wisdom. And as we go forward, you'll begin to see the depth and intelligence in that approach. We have not even asked Dr. Damina why he spoke the way he did, but one thing is clear. There's something we can learn from his method of response. Now, this brings us to a very serious question. Is the real issue in Nigeria about the mass killing of Christians? Was President Trump right to address it as the killing of Christians? Or has he been misled by the popular narrative that the West has been fed for years? Please don't be in a hurry to answer. Let's reason carefully on this sensitive matter. First of all, when we say Christian genocide, mass killing of Christians or Christian persecution, the first question that comes to mind is this: can any government really solve persecution? Because if we go back to the very Bible that Christians read, we see that persecution has always been part of the Christian story. History shows us that followers of Christ were hunted, tortured, beheaded, crucified, and even burned alive. Before Paul became an apostle, he personally oversaw the killing of believers. And yet, in all of that, there was no government intervention. Not even God stopped it. Jesus himself said, "You will be persecuted for my name's sake." He never promised political protection. He never said, "Pray that the government will save you." Instead, he said, "When they persecute you in one city, flee to another." That was his solution. Not revenge, not politics, not protest. So if what is happening in Nigeria today is purely Christian persecution, then let's be honest. There's no earthly solution. Let's stop calling for government intervention, because persecution cannot be solved through politics or power. But after serious investigation, Exousia TV can boldly say this: the way the Nigerian crisis has been framed as a mass killing of Christians is one of the main reasons why it hasn't been solved till today. Now, don't misunderstand us. Are Christians being killed? Of course they are. That's not even up for debate. But describing the entire conflict as Christian genocide is both shallow and dangerous, because if we keep pushing that narrative, we might end up creating more division and more problems than the current crisis itself. And let's face the truth, the version of the story that's been told to the Western world, the same one President Trump and other U.S. leaders are reacting to, is partial and incomplete. Now think with me. If President Trump decides to intervene militarily, how long will it take him to wipe out these so-called Islamic terrorists? How many years does he have left in office? And if he fails to finish the mission, will the next U.S. administration continue it? Or worse, could such a move trigger a global religious conflict where Islamic nations rise to defend their own, and other countries like China step in to balance the scales? That's why we say, viewing the Nigerian situation only through the lens of Christian persecution is not just misleading, it's dangerous. And sadly, many Nigerian pastors have fallen into that same trap. They have carried this narrow perception to their pulpits. They curse Boko Haram, curse the bandits, and call down fire in their judgmental prayers.
I am sent as a prophet of liberation. God called me 18 solid hours Wherever the devil is operating from on this continent, I have been given charge as a kingdom principality to rout them. Therefore, the roots of Boko Haram, whether from Sudan or from Saudi Arabia, becomes rotting today. God sent me as his apostle of liberation to this continent to stop it from decadence. I heard from God, and he has proved it beyond measure. Therefore, every occultic root, every political root of this uprising is cursed today. All the northern forces that are sponsoring these uprisings and killings, I decree the curse of God upon them. The Spirit of the body, pray in the Spirit, open fire, call down the Holy Ghost fire.
Yet those prayers have produced no results. They have become as useless as old rags in the kitchen. Now think again. Who told us that judgmental prayers can stop persecution? If it truly is persecution, it cannot be prayed away. Jesus never told us to pray persecution away. He said flee. And when those prayers failed, what did many of these pastors do? They became political. They started campaigning for Mr. Peter Obi in the 2023 elections, believing that electing a Christian president would end their troubles. But the same God they claimed would make Obi win didn't. Their so-called Christian candidate lost. And yet the killings continued. You can argue all you want in the comments, but if you think carefully and not emotionally, you'll realize what we're saying makes perfect sense. So the question remains, how should we really view this issue? And is it true that what's happening in Nigeria is mainly a Christian genocide? Now let's be clear, the killings are real, but to solve it, we must understand what's really driving it. Let's trace the root. Nigeria's violence is not just about religion. It's a complex mix of economic crisis, ethnic tension, political manipulation, and religious exploitation. The killings started as local conflicts over land, resources, and power. But over time, religion became a convenient mask, a cover story that both sides began to use to justify evil. Oh, once again, the question we leave you with is simple but piercing. Is what's happening in Nigeria truly a Christian genocide? Let's start with what we know for a fact. It is good to establish that people are indeed dying in Nigeria. The question is, how many and who? The numbers you hear depend on who is counting. A Christian advocacy organization publishes an annual World Watch List ranking countries where Christians face persecution. In their 2025 report, they claim that in just the first 220 days of the year, more than 7,000 Christians were killed in Nigeria. That's an average of 32 deaths per day. Inter-Society, a Catholic-inspired Nigerian NGO, goes even further. According to their October 2025 report, between 2010 and October 2025, a span of 15 years, approximately 185,000 people have been killed in Nigeria's religious violence. Of those, they estimate 125,000 were Christians and 60,000 were non-violent Muslims. The same report claims 19,100 churches were destroyed, 1,100 Christian communities were displaced, and over 600 Christian clerics were abducted, including 250 Catholic priests and 350 pastors. There's an organization called the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, known as ACLED. This is an independent crisis mapping organization that tracks political violence and protests worldwide. Their data is often used by the United Nations, the U.S. State Department, and major human rights organizations. They appear not to have a political agenda. They simply document violence as it happens using verified reports from the ground. So between January 2020 and September 2025, ACLED documented every attack against civilians in Nigeria. Total civilian deaths were recorded to be 20,049 in total attacks, which were 11,862. Now here's what matters. Of those 11,862 attacks, ACLED identified 385 as targeted events against Christians where Christian identity of the victim was a reported factor. Those 385 attacks resulted in 317 deaths. During the same period, ACLED documented 196 attacks, specifically targeting Muslims, resulting in 417 deaths. In attacks explicitly motivated by religious identity, more Muslims died than Christians. That is, 417 versus 317. Even though there were fewer, this doesn't mean Christian suffering is insignificant. 317 people dead because of their faith is a tragedy, but it means something critical. The vast majority of Nigeria's violence, that is, over 19,000 deaths, cannot be categorized as religiously motivated. The violence is real, the scale is massive, but the Christian genocide framing doesn't match the data. So where did the higher numbers come from? Let's look at the methodology, because this matters a lot. Organizations like Open Doors and Inter-Society appear to count all violence that occurs in Christian-majority areas as religious persecution. If a Christian farmer is killed in a land dispute with a Muslim herder, it is coded as anti-Christian violence. If bandits attack a predominantly Christian village, those deaths are attributed to religious persecution. Meanwhile, ACLED's methodology seems to be more precise here. They only code an attack as religiously motivated if the perpetrators explicitly targeted victims based on faith or if the attack occurred in a religious context, meaning like bombing a church during Mass or attacking a mosque during prayers. This distinction can be everything, because if you count all violence in Christian-majority areas as Christian persecution, you arrive at numbers in the tens of thousands. But if you count only violence explicitly motivated by religious identity, the numbers drop dramatically. Both methods document real deaths. Both capture real suffering. But only one tells you whether religion is the primary driver of violence or just one factor among many. The U.S. State Department, in its 2022 Religious Freedom Report on Nigeria, noted something quite crucial. It says, violence affects both Christians and Muslims. The report went on to explain that issues of religion, ethnicity, land and resource competition, and criminality are often closely linked, making it quite difficult to categorize many incidents as targeting individuals because of their religious identity. In other words, Nigeria's violence is complex. Religion plays a role, no doubt, but so does ethnicity, so does resource scarcity, so does competition for land and water, so does criminal enterprise. When you reduce this complexity to a simple story, Muslims killing Christians or Christians killing Muslims, you miss what's actually happening on the ground, and you miss who else is dying. Now, to understand Nigeria's situation, we need to look at its geography and how it is fueling different conflicts. Nigeria is roughly the size of Texas and California combined. It stretches from the Sahara Desert in the north to the tropical forest and oil-rich delta in the south. These different regions face entirely different conflicts. The violence isn't one war, it is three, in fact. The first war being the one waged by Boko Haram in the northeast. In 2002, a radical preacher named Mohammed Yusuf founded a movement in Maiduguri, Borno State. The group became known as Boko Haram, loosely translated as Western education is forbidden. Their official Arabic name translates to people committed to the propagation of the Prophet's teachings and jihad. Their goal was simple and clear: to establish an Islamic caliphate governed by strict Sharia law. In 2009, clashes with Nigerian security forces killed hundreds, including Yusuf himself, who was reportedly killed in custody. The group went underground, then re-emerged with a vengeance. They bombed police stations, attacked military barracks, assassinated government officials, and yes, they targeted Christians. In fact, on December 25, 2011, Christmas Day, Boko Haram bombed St. Teresa's Catholic Church in Madala, near the capital, Abuja. At least 37 people died in that attack. It was the first in a series of church bombings that would terrorize Christian communities across the Northeast. And then, in April 2014, Boko Haram kidnapped 276 schoolgirls from their dormitory in Chibok, Borno State. The girls were predominantly Christians, though some were Muslims. They were taken into the Sambisa forest. Some were forced into marriage. Some were raped. Some were alleged to have been killed in Nigerian military airstrikes targeting Boko Haram camps. The Bring Back Our Girls campaign went global. The world watched, and for many, Chibok became proof of Boko Haram's war on Christians. But here's what the headlines missed. Boko Haram operates primarily in Nigeria's northeast, Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states. These states are overwhelmingly Muslim. According to the 2006 census, Borno state is 96% Muslim, Yobe is 95% Muslim, and Boko Haram has killed Muslims there by the thousands. On November 28, 2014, Boko Haram bombed the Kano Central Mosque, one of the largest mosques in northern Nigeria. The attack occurred during Friday prayers. At least 120 Muslims died that day. Hundreds more were wounded. So why would Boko Haram bomb the mosque? Because in their ideology, any Muslim who doesn't support their version of an Islamic state is an apostate. Nigerian soldiers were considered apostates. Government officials are apostates. Muslim clerics who preach coexistence are apostates. All of them are legitimate targets for these guys. According to ACLED's findings, more Muslims than Christians were recorded killed in religion-targeted incidents between 2020 and 2025. In 2015, Boko Haram split. The more extreme faction aligned with ISIS and became known as Islamic State West African Province, ISWAP. Now, while Boko Haram targets both Christian and Muslim civilians, ISWAP focuses more on government forces and infrastructure. Both groups continue to operate to this day. Both continue to kill, and most of their victims are Muslims. This doesn't make Boko Haram's attacks on Christians any less horrific. The Chibok girls, the church bombings, the targeted killings of Christian farmers, all of it is real. But the narrative that Boko Haram exists solely to exterminate Christians ignores the thousands of Muslim civilians they have killed, the mosques they have destroyed, and the Muslim clerics they have executed. It's not a war on Christians. It's a war on everyone who doesn't submit to their version of Islam. And then there's the second war. Fulani militias in the Middle Belt. When you move south from Boko Haram territory, you enter Nigeria's Middle Belt. States like Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, and Kaduna. This is where the second war is happening. The Fulani are one of the largest ethnic groups in Africa. Traditionally, they are pastoral nomads, herders who move their cattle across West Africa in search of grazing land. For centuries, they coexisted with farming communities through negotiated arrangements. Farmers would allow herds to graze on harvested fields in exchange for manure fertilizer. The system worked because land was abundant and populations were smaller then. Well, not anymore. The Sahara Desert is expanding. Lake Chad, which in 1963 covered 25,000 square kilometers, had shrunk to just about 1,500 square kilometers by 2019. Desertification pushes herders south in search of water and grass. Population growth means less land per person. Climate change brings more droughts and more failed harvests. Traditional grazing routes no longer exist. Farmers have settled on lands that herders once used. When herds trample crops, farmers retaliate. When farmers block migration routes, herders fight back. What began as disputes escalated into something deadlier. Between 2015 and 2022, farmer-herder clashes killed over 23,000 people. The International Crisis Group found that in the first half of 2018 alone, these conflicts killed at least 1,300 people, 6 times more than Boko Haram killed during the same period. And here's where religion enters the picture. The Fulani herders are predominantly Muslim. The farming communities in the Middle Belt are predominantly Christian. So when violence erupts, it takes on a religious dimension. But when you look at the facts, is it fundamentally about religion? Bishop Wilfred Chikpa Anagbi of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Makurdi calls it nothing short of a jihad clothed in many names: terrorism, kidnappings, killer herdsmen, banditry. His diocese has seen horrific violence. In April 2018, armed men attacked churches in Benue State during morning mass, killing at least 19 worshippers, including 2 priests. The attacks were systematic, coordinated, brutal. Father Okuma Jonathan, the same priest who survived the Yelwa Zangam massacre, described what he sees. The Fulani come with their cattle and take over farmland and kill anyone who puts up resistance from his perspective, from the perspective of Christian communities watching their villages burn. This feels like religious persecution, and the pain is real. The trauma is real. The pattern of attacks on Christian farming communities is real. But here is the complexity.
Hey, you guys, please stop spoiling Fulani's name. Fulanis are not a bandit. Fulanis, we are not a bandit. Bandits are different, well, Fulanis are different.
Baba Usman Gazama is a Fulani community leader. In June 2025, after the Yelwa Zangam massacre, he told the BBC, quote, "Our people are not behind the Benue killings. We recognize that there are unresolved issues in Benue that have persisted for some time. However, we have never permitted any of our members to attack or harm others." Many Fulani leaders have condemned the violence. Some Fulani communities have been attacked by bandits themselves, and in some areas, Christian militias have retaliated against Fulani communities, killing herders, burning camps, destroying homes. Violence has become cyclical, and there are rogue leaders supporting all of this. Revenge begets revenge. Each side sees itself as defending against the other's aggression. The International Crisis Group's investigation concluded that rather than religious beliefs, intercommunal violence is largely driven by insecurity and a lack of trust between ethno-religious groups competing for political power and control over natural resources. In other words, it is about land, water, survival, and political power. You see, in Africa, religion is the lens through which communities see each other. But it is not the cause. The Plateau State massacres of 2025 illustrate this perfectly.
I am not happy. Women are becoming widows. Children are becoming orphans.
Between March 28th and April 7th, armed herders attacked 5 Christian farming communities, Dao, Guti, Mangu, and Ruyi. More than 50 people were killed. On April 7th, gunmen stormed Bok district, killing 52 people in a single night. But during the same period in Zamfara state, a predominantly Muslim area, bandits attacked Muslim villages, killing dozens. Amnesty International documented what is happening across these regions.
As you could see, I'm standing here. This is my house in my village, and I lost everything that was in the house, both foodstuff, clothing, and whatever.
Between May 2023 and May 2025, Benue State recorded 6,896 deaths. Plateau State, 2,630 deaths. Zamfara, 273 deaths. Katsina, 294 deaths. So across 7 northern states, at least 10,217 people were killed. Christians and Muslims, farmers and herders, men and children. All victims of a crisis driven by resource scarcity, governance failure, and the breakdown of traditional conflict resolution. And then we move on to war number 3. Bandits in the Northwest.
Da mun ce za a ba mu miliyan 300. Daga baya aka haɗa mu da wasu aka yi ta maganganu shine dai suka ba da miliyan 60 aka sake su. Aka suka baya.
This war is the simplest to understand, Erma and Day, and it has nothing to do with religion either. In Nigeria's northwest, Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, and Kebbi states, armed criminal gangs control vast territories. They are called bandits, but that word doesn't capture what they have become. These are organized military forces with heavy weapons, motorcycles, and sophisticated logistics. They extort villages, kidnap for ransom, and target anyone with money regardless of religion. They steal cattle. They rob travelers on highways. In June 2022, bandits attacked a mosque in Bukuyum, Zamfara state, killing 18 Muslim worshippers during Friday prayers. But why would they attack a mosque? Not ideology, not religious hatred. They did it for money. The village was late on extortion payments. The attack was a message. Between 2020 and 2025, bandits conducted thousands of kidnappings. They have abducted school children from dormitories, just like Boko Haram did. But they were motivated by ransom, not ideology. They have kidnapped entire wedding parties. They have stopped buses and taken every passenger. Christian, Muslim, it doesn't matter. If you can pay, they'll release you. That is, if they choose. If you can't, they'll kill you. Amnesty International's data from Zamfara State between May 2023 and May 2025 documented 273 deaths, 467 abductions, mostly women and girls, 638 villages sacked, 725 villages under bandit control. This is a criminal enterprise masquerading as insurgency. Some bandits claim to fight for Fulani rights or political grievances, but investigations show they are motivated by profit, not principle. The Nigerian government largely refers to this as banditry to distinguish it from Boko Haram's jihadist terrorism and the farmer-herder conflict. But in American media and advocacy networks, it all gets lumped together as Islamist violence, Fulani militants, Muslim extremists, and the thousands of Muslim victims disappear from the narrative. Now tell me, after examining these overwhelming facts, can anyone still justify labeling the entire crisis in Nigeria as merely a Christian mass killing? That would be not only partial, but heartless. Exousia TV is not a Muslim channel, but the truth must be told. Dr. Abel Damina's reflections on the Benue crisis remind us that these brutal killings affect men, women, and children alike. All citizens with equal rights, caught in the grip of wicked men who have hijacked the peace of our nation. We must stop viewing this through the narrow lens of religion. Jesus died for all humanity, and every life matters, not only the life of a Christian. When we begin to see this truth, we can rise together as one nation, one people, one continent, to fight these evils that plague us. Yes, many of the perpetrators may identify as Muslims, but that should never justify attacking or condemning all Muslims. Violence has no religion. Still, everyone is entitled to their own perception, and we respect that. So tell us in the comments section, how does this intelligent breakdown reshape your understanding of the Nigerian crisis? And how can we as a collective work together to solve it peacefully? Long live Nigeria, long live Africa. My name is Bright, and in the defense of truth, I stand.